Well, guys, welcome to a very windy day in SA. And you can see I'm hiding out in one of our cabins to film this episode of Stalking Shadows. And it has been crazy. The last few days have been super busy. The weather's been junk. We've had one beautiful day out of the last 10 days. So I thought, let me come and film in here to try and get away from the noise and the wind and all the crazy outside. And then the damn gimbal doesn't want to work properly. So excuse me if it goes left, right, sideways. Technology defeats me every now and then. But let's get on to it. So guys, we're in season 3 now. And I've spoken to you guys about where I became the outfitter, traveling overseas, hunting with Mike as like my first American clients for my company, and then hunting with Bill and Billy as my first booked clients for my company. And now these will be the next group of guys that came out for their adventure in South Africa. And I mentioned in my American trip that I met an awesome guys by the name of Daren Wilkins and Jeff Ford, who were part of the Wild Idea Outdoors radio show. I think it was on Jock 98, if I'm not mistaken, if I've remembered correctly. It's been a while ago. So I offered to host Daren and Jeff to come out, but unfortunately Jeff couldn't come. So Daren brought his son with, Noah. And Daren is an avid bow hunter. He had a bow shop, and they asked could they bring out their bows and come and do a bow hunt in SA. So I said to the guys, no problem, bring your bows out. They wanted to do walk and stalk. So I said, well, I'm no bow hunter, but we've guided bow hunts. I'm not really set up for sitting in blinds and places like that because I have no blind setups. They do a lot of that style of hunting. Limpopo area, they do a lot of that style of hunting in Namibia. Eastern Cape is predominantly walk and stalk. We use the terrain to our advantage. And I said, well, bring the bows with, let's give it a crack. So what they did was I gave them a basic package of, it was a kudu, a springbuck, a warthog, and an impala, and I think a blessbuck on that list. It was like a 5-animal like package deal. And they came out. They had some issues flying with their bows in Joburg. Guys will always get haggled at the Joburg airport. Man, I don't know what it is there. Everyone just wants a tip. They just want to rip you off. And unfortunately, they had the worst experience. We're trying to get their bows from, Joburg airport. But eventually got their bows and made it to the Eastern Cape, where I was waiting and I collected the guys at the Port Elizabeth airport. So we made our way to our beach accommodation where I'd been hosting the clients now, and the guys have enjoyed it. It's nothing fancy. I'll have a look for some pictures and post it up here. But it was close enough to the properties that we were going to hunt on. Close enough to our farm. It's 10 kilometers from the beach where our farm is now. And the guys arrived all excited after their long trip. And we came out to the farm with their bows. And I'd got a couple of grain bags. And I made a makeshift bow butt for the guys to practice with. And they got their bows all checked out and everything was all good. I can't tell you anything about the bows they were hunting with, guys. Definitely not my department, as I'm not a bow hunter, so I can't explain what poundage, what bow. The guys came all set up. I can remember the one thing is they had a single pin sight, which made them extremely accurate. I think Daren could shoot his bow out to 80 yards and it was, pin perfect. So anyway, we started the hunt off and we were going to do everything walk and stalk. So here we hunted for warthog and we headed out. And I think there's actually a YouTube video that Daren put together, and it's on YouTube, of the warthog hunt, and I think of the kudu hunt that we did while we were out here. So we spot a absolute bruiser of a pig on our property, and we took off on a stalk. And when we closed the gap to about, I want to say probably 100 yards out, the pigs were feeding on these little grass patches over a section of our property where there's an old quarry and there's a lot of cactus and everything, and they're feeding in amongst us. So I looked at Daren and I looked at Noah and I said, guys, you got to take your boots off because we want to get close. And a pig's ears are super sharp. That's one thing I think a pig relies on the most, a warthog, is their ears and their smell. The eyesight's not great, but the ears and their smell. And we carried on with our stalk, and we managed to get to a bush where the pigs had been eating in this green patch, and we stood there and we spotted this absolute bus of a pig. And while we were standing there, huddled up one behind the other, I'm standing busy glassing, and I've got the rangefinder out to call the distances. I've got Noah next to me. He's going to shoot first, and his dad's on the camera. And this warthog boar walks out like in front of us, 8 yards from us. A really nice trophy warthog boar, but it's not the boar that we were after. The one that we had seen was absolutely monstrous. So we'd seen him go to our right behind some females, and with that, from the right, 2 females came feeding along. And I said to Noah, listen, get ready. I'm sure that boar's going to come out behind this female. And with that, he came out perfectly. I ranged the distance, and it was 42 yards. And he got himself all settled in, and as the pig came into the clearing, he drew back, and he let an arrow fly. And he missed the pig. Somehow, the arrow went under the pig, missed the pig, and the pig took off. So the next morning, we were out bright and early again. We were looking for warthogs. We were looking for anything. And then we spotted some mountain reedbucks, so we went after them. And I remember with Daren and I again, we got into the clearing again, and it was a miserable windy day like this. And we just couldn't close that distance. We got to like 70 yards, and they were all bedded down, and we just couldn't close the distance. And in the wind, it was never going to be an ethical shot to take. And eventually they spotted us and they spooked off. So with that, the next day we decided we were going to go after blesbuck. And a buddy of mine had a bachelor herd of blesbuck that were living in quite a thick, thorny area. So they were living in amongst these thick acacia trees. And he had about 6 of them there. It was a bachelor group. And he said, no, you guys can come and try with the bow. He says, they're not going to be easy. They live in this really thick stuff. But come and go ahead. So we made our way there that day. And he had warthog and he had impala. And so we had a list of animals that we could go after. It wasn't like just one animal. But that was where we were going to go after the blesbuck. So we got there and he pointed us in the direction where the blesbuck were. So we parked the pickup and we went out on foot. And with this, we went in there and we didn't find the blesbuck. I remember this now. We didn't find the blesbuck. Then we carried on hunting for warthog, and that afternoon we sat up on a spot where we had some lunch. We were looking for impala. We did a few stalks on some impala, and we didn't come right with the impala. And with that, we spot a warthog boar, and it was we went into the thick stuff, and it was on the path making its way towards us. And I said to Noah, shoot the warthog. And Noah said, no, I want to go back for the warthog that I missed. And I'm going, buddy, shoot this warthog, because there's no guarantee of seeing the one that you missed. So he passed up the warthog. It was a really nice big pig. And we went back out after the blesbuck. And we'd found the blessed buck, we made a stalk, they busted us. And somehow in our hunt, Daren got separated from where Noah and I were. And the blessed buck made their way towards him. And we didn't see where he was standing, but yet it was so thick there. He was probably, I want to say, 40 yards away from us in the thorn trees. And the blessed buck spooked from him, and then they came back and they came and stood here by us. And I got Noah to try and take a shot at a blessed buck without knowing that poor Daren was also trying to shoot the same blessed buck. And he was busy stalking, and we were already lined up on it. And Noah had another flinged another arrow down range, and he shot over the top of the blessed buck. So he wasn't having any luck with his bow. Daren came out, he says, I was stalking the blessed buck. I said, oh shit, we didn't see you. I was with Noah and the thing was here. But anyway, we'll keep hunting. Our day got away from us and the sun went down, and we decided, okay, no, cool. We're going to head back. The next morning, we try to go after those big pigs again and some mountain reed buck. And we just couldn't spot that warthog again. And also bitterly cold. And a warthog doesn't like bitter cold weather and wind. He doesn't mind if it's cold, and he'll come out and he'll go into the sun and feed, and like most animals. But we had this icy wind. And I think I've got some photos of Noah still lying up against the bank, and he's got his hoodie over him, and he's like trying to get out the cold because it was really cold, and he couldn't believe how cold it was. And we didn't come right there, and we decided, okay, we're going to have an attempt in the bush pig blind. We sat in the bush pig blind that evening. Nothing came in. And that evening we did a show, or got onto the Wild Idea Outdoors show, when Jeff phoned us, and we had a chat there. And I'll never forget Noah telling everyone, he goes, it's cold in Africa. He was expecting this whole mindset of, I'm going to Africa, it's hot. And we were getting down to probably, I think with the coldest we got was around 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That was cold. And he was going, it's really cold. I said, yeah, once you hit to 32 on zero. So it was really cold hunting, and it was June, if I'm not mistaken. And the next morning, we planned to go after kudu. And I had the place where I just shot the beautiful Nyala bull with Bill. My buddy Craig there, he had actually set up a blind for us that we could go and use. So we went out there and we did a walk and stalk. I spotted a really nice bull. We managed to close the distance to about 45 yards. And I said to Noah, just step out behind the bush and you'll see the bulls feeding, looking away from us. He's slightly quartering away. He's feeding on the tree there. You'll let him turn, and then you can have a shot broadside. And with that, he stepped out and he was just looking past the bush, and the bull turned broadside. So I remember Noah putting his arm up and drawing his bow and trying to bring it down onto the bull. But funny enough, with that action that he did, the bull busted him and took off. And we never got another chance at a bull. So in the afternoon, we decided we're going to go climb into the blind setup that Craig had set up for us. And we sat in the blind setup, and an absolute monster of a waterbuck walks in. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, Daren, shoot this waterbuck. Shoot this waterbuck. It's an absolute beast, you know. But Daren had obviously budgeted on his package, and he passed up the waterbuck. So the sun set, and the next morning I had planned to go and hunt at my uncle's place, where we were going to go after springbuck, kudu, warthog, impala. He had all of that there. So we took a trip, and we started the morning, and I said to the guys that morning, I said, Guys, we are starting to run out of days now to try and, because at this stage the guys had shot nothing and we were already on like day 5 of their trip. We're more than halfway through. So I said, please just grab the rifle now and let's get 1 or 2 animals off the board, and then we can go back to the bows and see if we can't, capitalize that way. So that morning, bright and early, we got to an area where we got onto this lookout point. It's a beautiful lookout point. My uncle's recently sold the property now, and there's this valley that ran across, and you always got the morning sun on this opposite slope. And I'd shot a lot of really nice kudu bull from that spot, and I'd shot one of my own personal one-horn kudu bulls that I shot in that area off that same spot, and it was my go-to early in the morning. So we left bright and early, made our way there, and we got onto the lookout point. I gave Noah the 270, and with that we spot a beautiful kudu bull eating, an old bull, and he was eating with a bunch of cows, and something spooked them. And I remember throwing up the sticks, and I got Noah set up, and there was a stock fence, and the kudu bull came running out. The cows jumped the fence, but he hesitated at the fence. And as he hesitated at the fence, I said, Noah, smoke him on the shoulder. And he made the most pin-perfect shot on the shoulder. The bull jumped over the fence, and he just disappeared. So I sent the tracker across with the radio, and it wasn't 5 minutes. The tracker got to the fence. He said, here's the blood. He walked 10 yards into the bush, and here's Noah's bull lying down. An absolute beaut of an Eastern Cape kudu bull. A really old bull. And Daren was happy, Noah was happy, and we had got our first animal. So it kind of took a bit of pressure off the hunt, because now we've at least got an animal. So we went down there, we took some beautiful photographs. We had like a little interview for the YouTube video that Daren was putting together. And then we loaded up and we carried on hunting hard. So we went after springbuck next. I remember not getting lucky with Daren. Daren didn't get a springbuck, but Noah got a springbuck. So he was 2 animals down. So I was thinking like Daren was letting Noah do more of the shooting, and then he'd have the opportunity later. So he got the springbuck down, and that was our day. So we got 2 animals out the way. Then we headed back to the lodge, and the next morning we went back to where the blessed buck were, and we tried again for those blessed buck. We couldn't get our hands on blessed buck, and we shot 2 beautiful impala rams. Daren shot one and Noah shot one within 5 minutes. We got an awesome photo of the 2 of them, father and son, with the impalas. So we got that done, and that really took now some more pressure off the whole trip. So with that, the next day we were after kudu again. So instead of doing the long trip back to my uncle's place, we headed back to where we bow hunted for a bull, and this time it was Daren's turn, and we hunted hard. And if anyone's hunted the Eastern Cape on the Indian Ocean, it is super thick sea bush. So it's not like hunting inland where you can see between the trees and the bushes and you can see the kudu. When you spot them, it's normally just a set of horns or an ear and a horn, and you've got to really get a good look at them to make sure that you're getting a great bull firstly, and then it's trying to get the best shot, because often you're only seeing the neck, and the head sticking out. And eventually we spot this beautiful deep turn bull, and somehow we were lucky where we spotted him. He's looking, a kudu bull's typical, both ears forward, staring at you. And he also decided, no, he's done with us, and he did a turn to head into the bushes, and Daren was set up and he smoked him on the shoulder. A beautiful kudu bull, but he went into that thick sea bush. So we went in there and we tracked him, and we found him hooked up in some trees, and we got some photographs. So we got another kudu out the way. So there was 2 kudus, a waterbuck, not a waterbuck, 2 impala and a springbuck now. So we still had the blessed buck, and we still had another springbuck that we were after, but we were just starting to run out of days. And eventually, that was our second last day. So we had our last day of hunting, and we hunted our property again. And I remember distinctly, we hunted so hard that day that late afternoon, we spot that bus of a pig again, like a real big pig. And I remember Noah grabbing his bow, and he says, no, he's going after it. And I remember Daren looking at him, no, you've had your chance at him. He's mine. And with that, I said to Daren, we literally got 20 minutes to get down here to get this pig, because we're going to run out of light. If you want him, I suggest, bud, you take the rifle, leave the bow. And we took off, the two of us took off down there. And Noah sat on the hillside with the tracker, and they watched our whole hunt unfold. It was really cool. So when we got down to the bottom there, the wind changed on us, because the place that we're hunting's got a bit of like a saddle. So when you're on top of the hill, the wind was perfect. When we got there, it started swirling. And these pigs were feeding around, and I'm like, there's the bush. He was eating there, but now where has he gone in the time that we've needed to get to the bottom to see where he is? And we were creeping around, and eventually this pig pops out, staring straight at us. And it was just his head. And I remember I just stepped to the side like that, and Daren was right here next to me. I said, there's no time for me to put the sticks up, bud, smoke him. And offhand, he smoked that pig square between the eyes. And we shot this beautiful big warthog. It was the biggest, and I think it still is, the biggest warthog trophy we've shot on this property to date. An absolute monster. His tusks were worn off. He was an absolute bus of a pig. So we finished our safari with getting this monster pig, 2 beautiful kudu, and 2 impala, and a springbuck. So this leads me back to when you come and hunt South Africa and you decide to come with a bow. And it was something I was thinking about when I was sitting in that blind when that big waterbuck walked in. And you pass up a quality animal like that because you've already purchased a package. And I think hunting in South Africa, what I do now, and I changed it from that day, I don't sell packages. I sell a day fee, and we hunt off a price list. You contact me, and what I'll do is you tell me a list of animals and I'll quote you accordingly. But all you have to do is pay your day fee up in full by the time you arrive, and you settle your animals the day you leave. So it gives you more of a budget hunt to work with. So like, for example, Daren was sitting in that blind and that waterbuck walked in. If he had a $6,000 budget to spend, he could have shot the waterbuck bull and had some change to shoot some other animals, instead of going, it's not on my package that I've paid for, let me pass him up and rather concentrate on the package. So I think if you are a bow hunter, and if you're booking with whatever outfitter you're booking with, rather hunt on a day fee and come with a budget that you can really concentrate hard on hunting with your bow. So if you don't shoot anything and you have missed opportunities and animals busting you, and you've done your full safari with your bow, you will be happier because you've paid your day fee and you haven't had other animals that you didn't get or didn't get the time, because bow hunting is very time consuming and you need the time to put in the most amount of effort in, for example, hunting a beautiful bushbuck or a fallow deer for a bow hunt. So just keep that in mind when you come out to South Africa on your next adventure. Yeah, if you're bow hunting, try and hunt on just a day fee and bring a set amount, a budget that you are willing to spend. I think that is probably one of the best tips I could give you. But if you want to come and join us in South Africa, that's how we operate. I quote you, and your quote stands for those animals at the end of the safari. That's what you will pay for. So this hunt taught me a lot of things as in an outfitter, thinking about marketing. When we sell packages, if anyone sells you a package hunt, you don't get a reduction at the end of the hunt because the packages are so reduced already to make bookings. So if you don't shoot your animals, you don't get it back. You get a year to come back and book another hunt, and then say, for example, you didn't shoot your kudu, you can try and hunt your kudu in the next trip that you book. That's what most outfitters do for you. So just bear that in mind when you book your next trip, and whatever company you book with, how their T's and C's work regarding packages, and maybe look for the guys that charge you just a day rate. So if you're enjoying these guys, hit the like and subscribe button. Hopefully we get to see you out in SA coming to hunt with myself and my team in 2025. So stay tuned for the next time, guys. Hopefully it drops on time. Cheers.